This is In the Loop. I'm Christian Bryant. This show is like breakfast food. Might be a little sweet, might be a little salty, depending on my mood, but truly, it's good any time of day. Don't at me with your breakfast takes. Here's what we're cooking for you today, folks. Earlier this month, the Supreme Court dealt a final blow to a federal challenge to the controversial Texas abortion law, SB 8. The crux of this decision was determining who is actually enforcing this rule, the government or civilians. Regardless of how you feel about the bill, the implications of this are huge, and justices along the ideological spectrum noted this during oral arguments.
Essentially, we would be inviting states, all 50 of them, with respect to their unpreferred constitutional rights, to try to nullify the law that this court has laid down. I mean, that was something that until this law came along, no state dreamed of doing. Guns, same-sex marriage, religious rights, whatever you don't like, go ahead.
When we decide a case, the rule that we establish should apply to everybody who's similarly situated. And if you look at the particulars of the enforcement mechanisms, they are unprecedented and they provide cause for concern.
So let's unpack what those enforcement mechanisms are and what makes it so seemingly unprecedented. The law's unique mechanism works by making a type of bounty system. The law allows citizens to sue anyone involved in performing or aiding an abortion, and the law even gives them a financial incentive. If the plaintiff is successful, the law allows them to collect cash payments of $10,000 and legal fees from whoever was sued. If the plaintiff loses, they don't have to pay the defendant's legal costs. What's unique about this, the bill enables ordinary citizens to enforce the law and actually forbids government actors from enforcing it. And for the record, the people seeking an abortion can't be sued, but providers can, and anyone helping can, down to a driver that takes them to an abortion clinic. Lyft and Uber have stated that they will cover any potential legal fees for their drivers. As a number of legal experts have pointed out, this seems to create a new way to circumvent any constitutional rights a state doesn't agree with.
It means that a state can trump federal law, which is antithetical to everything that we've known in constitutional law and federalism, which is that when the federal government has spoken, either through Congress or through federal courts and the Supreme Court, that becomes the law of the land.
Now, looking back through history, there is at least one historical example of laws that follow a similar bounty system, and that's actually the fugitive slave laws leading up to the Civil War. And this might seem like a wild comparison, but bear with me. There are more similarities than you might think. The government offered a cash bounty for anyone formerly enslaved who escaped to a state where slavery was illegal. It also targeted anyone who aided and abetted a fugitive, allowing slave owners to sue anyone who helped an enslaved person escape. And it tipped the scales against them, speeding up the procedures and removing judicial oversight.
Fugitive slave laws provided for this kind of citizen vigilanteism. So if one thinks about why fugitive slave laws become important to this narrative, it has a lot to do with the failures of the Supreme Court and the ways in which states sought to strategize against the promise of equality found in the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. But the reason why there are the efforts to reframe fugitive slave acts, reframe what we saw during Jim Crow, is because it worked.
Michelle noted that some states tried to pass their own laws to protect Black Americans and override fugitive slave laws, but they were unsuccessful. Of course, the parallels aren't perfect, but the historical example may give us some insight into what might be next. What might be more successful is a stronger move from Congress. Congressional Democrats have been rolling out multi-step plans to protect the constitutional right to have an abortion if Roe v. Wade is overturned. From new federal protections to reforming the Supreme Court to abolishing the filibuster. As far as SB 8 is concerned, the editorial boards at the LA Times and Boston Globe have called on Congress to stop this kind of civil enforcement law in its tracks before it spreads to other civil rights beyond just abortion. According to the Globe, Jonathan F. Mitchell, the former Texas Solicitor General who helped write the law, even noted Congress might be able to solve this by enacting the Women's Health Protection Act, which would preempt SB 8.
So the Women's Health Protection Act is meant to codify Roe v. Wade, and it would be an important first step. It can come before Congress again, and I believe that it will. And it's unknown when it will be that time in which it will be able to successfully make its way through the Senate.
But while the legislative battle continues, the effects of the law are already being felt back in Texas. To learn more about how the situation has already changed in Texas, we have Amy Hagstrom Miller. Amy is the founder and CEO of Whole Woman's Health, an organization with clinics across the country that give access to women's healthcare services, including abortions. Amy, we appreciate you joining us and being able to add some expertise to this conversation. Whole Women's Health operates 4 clinics in Texas. Can you paint a picture for us about what they've been experiencing there since SB 8 was introduced?
It has been a very rough, almost 7 months, where we've had to deny the vast majority of people seeking abortion care those services. We can only provide care up until about 6 weeks into the pregnancy. And this ban has been something that's stuck around, even though we have challenged it legally in every court, district court, circuit court, Supreme Court, Texas court. Unfortunately, it remains in effect.
Would you describe the impact of SB 8 as kind of having a chilling effect on clinics? And have we ever seen this kind of impact on clinics before?
So it has really just devastated people's access to safe abortion care in Texas and put all of us on not only extreme alert, but in fear for our livelihood, for our own rights, and for the rights of the patients that we're trying to serve. Keep in mind, abortion bans like this don't do anything to prevent unplanned pregnancy or reduce the need for abortion in Texas. They just block people from being able to access that care in their communities within Texas. And so it has really put our clinic staff in a terrible position of having to turn people away who they are not only committed to helping, but very highly trained to help and care for. And now they have to say no. And then we've built a program called the Wayfinder program, where we are helping people find their way to abortion care who are denied care in Texas, and helping them with resources and appointments to travel outside of Texas if they happen to be over 6 weeks and denied care now in Texas.
It sounds like one of the things that's changed is how quickly outreach needs to be done, how quickly you all need to be able to, give resources to or get in touch with people who need care. Is that mm-hmm. kind of how you would describe the dynamic now? It's like it's a much a tighter situation in that you need to get in touch with people as quickly as you can.
Some of our patients are calling us before they've even missed a period, before they even know that they're pregnant, because they are so worried they're going to be denied an abortion in Texas and be blocked from the health care that they know they may need. And so we've really increased our staff, ironic as it might be, increased our staff within the last couple of months so that we can get folks in within a day or two from the time they call. Because to say to somebody they need to wait for an appointment is basically to tell them they have to continue a pregnancy against their will right now in Texas. And so we are doing all we can to get the word out that abortion is still accessible in Texas, that the clinics are open, and that we welcome people to come in as soon as they're able to.
Amy Hagstrom Miller is the founder and CEO of Whole Woman's Health, an organization with clinics across the country that give access to women's healthcare services. Amy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.